Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Understanding Vedic Astrology. And today we're going to be starting on number 10. So, if you're here specifically about learning about the 10th house, you are in the right place. I'm very excited to be here. So, if you are watching this right now, it's a great opportunity. If you want to learn a little bit more about my study of Vedic astrology, please, there's a video down below. It's also linked, or after this video there should be an icon that it does introduction. I just kind of want to get straight into it, and just that's the way I am. So let's get right into the 11th house and what that means to you or your chart, and what does it really represent in your world. According to in general, Vedic astrology, it symbolizes like community, social. It's like gains that you get, and hopes and wishes that actually comes true for you, and that's a big factor as well. So the house between 9 to 12 is considered to be Dharma, and Artha house is 10, and Kama is 11, and Mokshas are 12, representing that overall. And this really talks about the 11th house really represents foreign collaboration, or even higher study, even election, or writing, or health in every established way. Like, it's a higher outcome of it. So, we work really hard in the 10th house. What kind of outcome based on the 10th house we're going to get? So, which is the 11th house, which is the outcome that we really gain for. And it could be also areas where we collaborate. So that could be friendships as well, lasting friendships. So if you have the 11th house, you get a lot of referrals or connections based on these 11th house that accumulates through that area. And as well, I kind of want to talk about you can actually earn in this way, earning. So that's in a way that maybe short writing, and that could actually happen there as well. Your younger brother, or even agency, money received through mother figure, it could be a possibility as well. And property or treasures could be also an opportunity. And this is more it affects 11th house. So we could talk about Baba, but really that's where it is. And just remember, the 6th house implies income through any service. It could be definitely borrowing and pets and things, and service in general. But the 11th house really involves about ensuring and providing funds and a legacy, like leaving behind a legacy. So you work really, really hard. So how do you benefit from that? Like leaving a legacy of some sort. Like, could be a writing books or material things. That could be a factor. Your friends remember you for long term as well. And so really the 10th house we talked about, it's about people's income, professionals, that actually happens there. So first off, the first 10th house, all putting all together, which is all the resource of the person earning, and the skills and the level. And then all of a sudden it shows the expense and investment and withdrawal of the money of the bank account. So that's how you really profit from that. And just remember, when we gain something, there's also the expense size as well. So that's not always a bad thing when we talk about the 11th house. And when we get into a little bit depth in towards goals, so this is where your goals and wishes actually all happen and comes true. So if you work towards that very specifically on the 10th house, which is all about your career. So it's all about expanding our life, and even or having a long-lasting desire that could be in a higher being. And so, and that being said, I feel like the 11th house really is all about the outcome that you have. So whatever you work towards that's the outcome you have. And if there is an empty planet, it's not always a bad thing. If you do have a planet, maybe there's a sort of lesson that needs to be learned, or even a strength that you already carry, and that's what you're really well known for. And that's not always be a bad thing. So when I talked about the 11th house, we talked about where it actually shows the outcome of certain things. So, for example, you work really hard in your career, you might end up becoming like a public figure of some sort, and that could be a celebrity figure. That would be one of them, and that's where you become a really wealthy individual, and it really like consider you to be like a really shining star, or like a highly amplified individual that helps, either like a motivator, a motivational speaker. That will be one of them. You stand on stage and you are a servant to that. A public servant definitely is one of them. And when I talk about public servant, we're talking about politicals, politicians. So that's where it is. When it comes to like things like activities in general, so I would consider to be like a social group factor. So like large group that comes together, and it could be a Toastmaster for sure, and you are considered to be the host who actually manage the Toastmaster. So, or even a bingo game. So a large group comes together and do that. It could be also saving the world. I could put an organization to that, like Red Cross. Like they come together as a community, bring it in an activity, and they have one thing in common and goal in mind is just saving the world, or creating a safety net for people that can get support, and shelter and water and food and just shelter in general. So we talked about winning, we talked about money. Environmental factor could also be like a collaboration, like being in church or a choir, something like that. It's just a gathering of people, really. When it comes to like items, when doing prajna or horary, and this could represent anything like money, anything like money wise, like I guess like what comes to mind is like maybe a lottery ticket or an investment statement that you really receive money, or a dividend statement, and that would be one factor. So like really, like I call like big things, like it really represents Jupiter. So Jupiter is all about like hopes and wish that you really have. And we talked about Saturn is about structures and things and putting in place, and so that's where the planetary is indicated. So if you have a planet there, it's going to just help you a little bit more so to establish your hopes and wishes through. So I feel like that's where it is. It's just like when you ever feel like one day I'll be successful, that's all hopes and wishes. And obviously your teacher, if you have a mentor, teacher, that which is all the ninth house, help you, guide you to become the higher being. Because we talked about that, and I can talk about what that's like as an accounting firm, or if you're in public practice, you do have a mentor to make your designation become a fully like accountant, or become a lawyer that's publicly practicing. You do have a mentor, so which is the ninth house. And then 10th house, you work towards that, and then you become the professional. You can be an expert witness. You can be running your own programs and courses, and you can become the board directors and making policies and stuff like that. That's all the 11th house, which is all about the higher individual being inspired, because you're really good at it and you want to do that, and you really give hope and wish to our society. And that's really great, create us an expert in that area. So, and that's where I feel like that's a big factor of it. When it comes to other factors like disappointment, it's just because there's other things that needs to be learned, like a skill or a service or something that you really want to highly achieve, and that give fruits. Astrology talk about giving fruit. So just imagine yourself like growing a seed into a plant, and fully grown plant, right? And you can live for years, like evergreen. Evergreen is amazing. If you ever in the West Coast, especially upper north, we have evergreen, and we start off with this little tiny tree, and it grows into this evergreen, beautiful, luscious tree, where it really expands and gives great fresh air, and it's huge, and it lives for many, many, many years. So it has a great smell, and that's what it really is. Okay, so let's talk quickly about certain planets that here that shows that. So really, if you have like a certain goal in your life that's really serving, and you can see this publicly as well. When I see this is like a political individual, politician, really serving the public. And that's all about your inner goal, like your inner, like, I want to do this, and this is what I see myself doing. And that's where it's transformed this personal ambition that really want to go out there, be in the public eye. That's the difference. Be in the public eye and not really be shelter back, if that makes any sense. So there's different careers, but this one is all about being for sure in the public eyes, because that's what they really vision themselves. And they can consider being themselves as an authority, if that makes any sense. So an authority. So anybody you see consider themselves calling, especially in a special niche, an authority. So there's many things like speakers out there, they consider themselves as an authority. They leave a legacy of themselves. So when they pass away, just like many people like software design, like Steve Jobs is one of them. He left a legacy just to serve in general the public, right? So, and that's what he kind of did. So that's one example. He really driven that everybody deserve an Apple product. So I'm not saying that Apple product is the most number one greatest thing out there. I'm just saying that's what his vision, that's what's his goal in life, and he did whatever it takes to leave that legacy and leave that trail. So yeah, so that's really one person right there. But there's so many people out there, especially if anybody who has written books. That's one big factor as well, because they want to leave a legacy. I'm not saying that books kind of die away, but that's just one of them. Music is another one. It's just leaving a legacy of their own. Okay, so when we talk about like emotional mindset oriented, that's like really about feeling like connecting in a larger group. Like we're talking about community, and that's also, we're talking about like self-peace, like peaceful, and self-image and self-love. So this person is really well known for something like amplify their feeling, or it could be definitely a woman, but emotional healing and mindset, and towards those service, anything sort of like healing in those feelings. And they're going to be well known for that, especially their impression, and they're going to have a lot of connections of friends that are considered to be healers or counselors based on that, if they have something really public wisdom towards others, if that makes any sense. Okay, so when we talked about like Martians, like having fulfillment, that Martian passion of like completing and having a winning place, and that could be like, you know what, it could be a competitor, like an athlete that really wants to show up and then they win their Olympic gold. And if that's where their ambition is, they're going to show up in this world having that one ambition. So this is going to really show up in that area. And just remember that, you know, I see this a lot of time, like entrepreneurs. We'll talk about entrepreneurs in a bit. I'm getting sidetracked here. So when we talked about like talents and skills, intelligence, and publicly speaking, that really has the high quality in this area, and this really shows about being able to be like an anchor or a speaker of some sort. So you have that skill, you're going to show up in this world, and that's what it's going to show up a lot of the time. So, and it doesn't necessarily if they are going to be famous, but there's other factors that's involved. But I'm just saying this is what they're going to be known for when we come on like first impression, because they're like, this is my number one goal, and this is what I really want and hope, wish to have and to be known for. So if you hear people saying, that's what it is. Okay, so the 11th house is when it comes to like hope and ideas and love and higher achievement. And this is the hippy dippy, I call it the Jupiter in the sky, which is a greater source of the sky, and it's really been blessed. And anyway, Jupiter is great because it's known to be a guru and a betterment. You see these people are like really in touch with humanity. When I say humanity, really have a big heart when it comes to like wanting to save the world, to make this place a better place. And that's where you see that, right? And vice versa, when it's negative, it's like, you know, it doesn't really see it that way. Maybe they would think war is probably better for the planet. Where Jupiter is like maybe having peace, like a strong Jupiter would say like, you know what, maybe we just need more peace. Maybe we just need to love more people and accept people, and instead of look at their difference, and showing gratitude of this world and how to show off that gratitude. I think that's a really big factor for that. And so, anyways, I feel like I'm a little biased at some time with Jupiter, just because that's something I have in this area. So, just really believe in world peace here. Not to sound like a pageant, but when it comes to like romance factor, it's really interesting what I see here, and it's all about servicing people in this area, and that's like surrounding, and we're talking about divine, and really liking like could be definitely known for definitely like women like Venetian things like beauties and stuff. They could be definitely to be known for like interior design, like expert in this area, and if that's what they're wanting to be known, having a most beautiful place in the world, that might be one of them. That could be a big factor for someone who can provide a service like this, and have really great romance around area, and have really romantic. I really find that like Venus, you know, someone with a strong Venus could have really high expectation in relationship in general, just because it's just really over the top, right? And that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing. That means that you have really high expectation, making everything perfect, hoping your wishes like the best wedding in the world. And when I see stuff like that, like you're gonna have like the best wedding, you're gonna have the best wedding planner and the best you know, home decorating and whatever you wish and hope, and it's over the top. But, and that being said, like nobody's going to feel disappointed if we were going to get invited over your house for tea or for supper. Okay, so another factor here is when we come to discipline and things like that, I feel like entrepreneurs, and that means like owning your own business and self-employed, has a really strong house and wanting to be their own boss. And I find that if you have a planet here, which is called Saturn, but try not to use so much jargon here, but it really represents like just like reality check, instead of like hoping and wishing and, you know, waiting for the universe or God or spiritual divine or higher divine or things like that factor is going to make things happen for you. The Saturn here is all about like discipline, and it really showcase like, you know, you win some, you lose some, like, and it doesn't get your hope up, right? It's, you know, what my partner would call it, the devil advocate. Like, it's like, yeah, you got like this happy angel on the side, but really in reality, you got to work the numbers before you see the cycle. So I find that a lot of entrepreneurs who are really good at this place, and they would be having a planet here as well. Well, we can talk about their childhood. No, we're going to skip that. So we're going to stick with entrepreneur, and I'm going to say hope, but they're between the cycle of hope and wishes, but also see the disappointment. So they have the balance of, you know, not waiting around so much. I like what you call happy Jupiter in here, where they're willing to wait along. So if you can't afford an astrologer for whatever reason, and you can't really don't know if this is where your strength and weakness, and maybe something that you can ask within yourself. And that's just simply asking, like, okay, what do I really hope and wish in this life? What do I want in this life? And how do I go and achieve it? Do I have everything in place? Do I have a mentor to help me, guide me in this place? Am I the person who really hope, wish, and wait for the universe to grant me stuff? Or do I show enough gratitude in this world? And I think that's what it really comes down to. Do you have a goal in mind, and how do you achieve those goals? So which is the 10th and 9th house. So if you have a mentor, you have all the steps that takes it. The 10th house, putting all the work that really shine your skills and ability. And the 11th house is all about practically getting what you want, and are you being recognized when you walk down the street, or people know you in your office? That's what you're going to be known for. So, and I think that's really where it really comes down to. All right, so I want to conclude everything that I have talked to you today, and I'm so excited to be here, and thank you so much. The next cycle of the video is going to be the 12th house, and the 12th house will be our final house, and yay, that will end our series. And I hope you have learned some information a little bit about yourself, so you are more self-aware. So when you are talking to your partner, I think there's a great opportunity to really create within your life and communicate that with your partner so you have a better understanding with each other. So that being said, I want to conclude today's video, and I'll see everyone's later. Okay, bye now.